Welcome back, crochet friends. I am here to talk about my March wrap up and things that I plan to do in April. So, as I'd mentioned in a couple earlier videos, trying to do one project a month for the entire year. So I pick a project and then I decide to do that. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm doing for the month. But that's been my goal. And January was slippers. February was this little Yeti guy here. And I made my friend Craig here in February, and I've done a few other things in February. So March was no different. March was full of all kinds of fun things. But my main goal for March was to do the granny squared crochet chickens that have been all the rage. I put up a short a couple of days ago of two that I had finished. Those actually went to my friend's mom. Her birthday was at the end of March, so I gave her two hens, and then I made one for myself. So there she is. So I used the gray was a variegated speckly yarn from Big Twist. I had leftover. I made a ski mask thing for my friend's dad. Same um, friend. Um, and it was this here. So I had about a half a skein of it left over. So I thought it might make pretty cute chickens, and I think she's adorable. This was this was scrap. All of this I made with scrap yarn. This was kind of an off-white, antique white living, big twist living that I had made some granny squares with for Christmas. This mint color was a leftover from a temperature blanket that I was going to start a couple years ago and I never did, and I used it for a couple other things. The orange was just, I think, a scrap of orange. I either got the little miniature, the petite big twist, or it was from Hobby Lobby, the little small skeins. It was one of those. I was working on pumpkins last fall, so that was where that was left over. This hot pink was also from that temperature blanket that I never did. And then the red I know for a fact was the dollar, or the dollar skein at Hobby Lobby, because I bought that specifically to do the crowns. And the yellow was also that petite from Big Twist that I bought to do something else, and then I ended up using it for the beaks. And then I think I used the larger eyes. I think these are I want to say these are 18 millimeter. I don't think they're that big. They might be 16 millimeter, the black eyes. So there she is, all completed. I'm so happy. I love her so much. So I don't know, want to replace Craig, but I don't know where she's gonna go for my coffee crocheting corgis. So I don't. She doesn't have a name. Henrietta, I guess. Henrietta the chicken. I don't know. So yeah, the other stuff I was working on in March. I did a I've heard this pronounced two different ways, Hobbii and Hobbii. I'm not sure. I've heard two people say it Hobbii, and I've heard one person say it Hobbii. So, and I said it Hobbii. So let's go. I don't know if it's Hobbii or Hobby, but I was going to work on the cardigan. This is the Horizon. I talked about the colorway on it when I did the unboxing or the unbagging when I bought this, and it wasn't quite as purple as I thought it was going to be, but I decided to start working on it, and because it's a really good mindless. Once you get it set up, it's pretty mindless. So I figure I can work on it in the evenings. I feel like a prop comic here. I feel like Carrot Top. I've got all my props here. Um, so so I started on it. My bag is also, I did corgis, crochet corgis and coffee, the most important C's of life, and then I have my big twist yarn keychain that I accidentally bought. Didn't know it was at $7.99. Um, yeah. So I started working on it, and I realized last night when I was working on it that I screwed something up. So I had to frog a little bit. Yes, last night. But this is it so far. I have not worked on it as much as I had hoped. And like I said, I frogged about 3 rows of it last night because I realized when I was going through here and realized that I had skipped one of the granny square. There it is, and I was looking for it last night. So I got to frog some more. So let's live frogging right now. Yeah, so I somehow missed that. I don't know how I did that. But um I have to say that this is DK yarn. DK weight is number 3. I rarely work with anything this light, so it's been an adventure, or a different feeling. Has a different texture to it. I like the I like it. It's a little different for me because it's just not what I'm used to. I'm used to worsted weight mostly. I know it's down here in the gray somewhere, so I'm getting close. I'm getting close. We're a frog. Frog, frog, frog. So yeah, I'm basically almost starting over. That is life in the crochet lane, right? Let's see. Right here it is. Okay, here it is. Now, what did I do wrong here? I missed something. Okay. Oh, I see what I did. I see what I did. I was somehow didn't connect the two. I should have just made my thing here and then stitched it. So yeah, let's fix that right now. Anyway, this yarn has been it was in the cake that I had just a bit ago, and I tried to just make it straight off of the cake and um not wind it like this, and it got how it got really tangled, and I didn't center pull it because I don't know if you can center pull those cakes, but I did not center pull it, and I was working from the outsides, and boy howdy, it got tangled up, it got messed up. It was just an utter disaster. So um I ended up taking it out, and so I ended up having to ball it up because it was just an absolute disaster. Now, the problem I'm having with this yarn is where it's light. I'm not used to it being so light on my hands. So that's been um, kind of an interesting feel because like I said, I don't work with a lot of the lighter yarns. So the feel of it's weird, and I haven't been able to get the flow of how to hold it on my hand yet. So that's been a challenge because I'm doing all these different things. It's like, oh, let's try it this way. Let's try it this way. Let's try it this way. So I haven't found a good way to hold this particular yarn because I'm used to heavier. I usually, like I said, I usually use DK, and then I have started using the chunkier yarns, and not DK. I I usually use worsted like this. I've always probably used worsted because that was the yarn that my grandma used. And okay, so here's our problem child right here. How I screwed it up is I didn't connect it. I see what I did. I didn't connect it. So let's connect. Oh, wait a minute. Did I do my, yeah, okay. So we got to slip stitch it in there, and then we can go from there. So there we go. What did I do wrong? I did something wrong again. Okay, so I got 1, 2. Okay, now we're just, so there's the problem child right there. It was my chain 3. Um I did not slip stitch it on the top of the chain 3. I just went ahead and I went ahead and made the next row without doing that, and that's what screwed it up. Now, I think in the pattern you're supposed to flip it. I think you're supposed to like chain 3 here and then flip it. I think is what you do. I think that's what I didn't do. I think I went ahead and just chain. I didn't slip stitch it, and then I just went ahead and bounced over to um, the next row. So that was what I did. So there we go. We live fixed it. Yay. Now I'm like Now I'm about 6 rows down. But this is how this is it so far, how it transitions from the lighter lilac to the kind of redder purple, and then the black and the gray, and then it has this kind of the darker I'd call that magenta probably out here on the edge. So I'm overall I'm pretty happy with how it looks, but it's like I said, I had hoped it'd been a little bit more purple. I'm kind of known around my workplace, around my library, for wearing lots of purple. My director, he's always given me grief about it because he remembers when I worked at another not another library, but I worked at the state library, and I had purple hair at one point because I was youth services consultant, and I had purple hair. And he always gives me grief about my purple. I wear purple a lot, and it's also my birth. I'm February. My birthday's in February, so I my grandma used to buy me lots of purple things because of that. Because she used to buy me African violets, and anything with amethyst jewelry. So I kind of have an affinity for purple. Although actually, I think my favorite color is green. It was when I was a kid. Green was my favorite color, but I really have an affinity for purple. So you will see lots of purple in my work. Um, and yeah, so purple. Yeah, see, I did not center pull this, and I don't think you can actually. So going forward, I'm going to ball these before I start working with them because that was a holy mess. That was actually the same issue I had with this because I didn't center pull this either. And I worked from the outer bands and it got tangled up. So that's probably seeing that happen before. I'm thinking that might be a me problem rather than the a yarn problem. That is that is a Lisa problem. That is a Lisa problem, not a yarn problem. Okay. So the other big project I was working on in March was a plushie. I have really gotten so into plushies. This is yarn. I think this is the chenille yarn from Michaels. I'm pretty sure it was the chenille yarn from Michaels, and the just chenille from the Dollar Tree. So that's what I'm working on. I'm actually trying to finish this for my assistant at work. I started this. Her birthday is in September, and I had originally wanted to do this for her in September, but I started working on it, and I messed it up a couple of times, so I've had to restart it many times. Um, I don't know if you can guess what it is. It's Snoopy. She's a big Peanuts. She loves Peanuts, and she's a big Snoopy fan. And I wanted to make this for her birthday, and I missed the boat completely. And I've not been able to work on it, so I decided to sit down and work on it past week or so. So this is how far I've gotten on it. This chenille I believe this is loops and threads. I actually like this. I don't like a lot of loops and threads products, but this is fantastic. I like this a lot. The Dollar Tree chenille does, as you can see, there's fuzzies in here everywhere, so it does tend to shed a lot. So, and then this is the petite from this is the petite from Big Twist I'm using as my magic ring. I do the technique where you take the yarn and then you make a magic ring with it, and then you put your chenille on because it's so much easier. That was what I struggled with when I did this, when I was working on this back in September. I could not do the magic ring with chenille for the life of me. And then I found out to do that. Godsend, absolute godsend. Whoever came up with that idea, you are an amazing genius. So that's what I'm working on now. This one's kind of like my ongoing thing when I'm bored in the evenings or when I'm watching TV. I just kind of work on this cardigan. So that brings me to April. Actually, we're actually in technically in April right now. So my project for April is the main thing I want to do. I want to make peeps. Peeps since it's Easter, and I have a boatload of the Just Chenille Premier just chenille, as I was just talking about, in anticipation of making these chenille peeps because I really wanted the plushy peeps. I saw them last year at a couple markets, and I really wanted to make my own. So I'm going to see how many, how much, I'm going to see what one skein of these takes up a peep. So I've got hot pink, which I've lost the cover for this. I think I used this just briefly for the heart on my Valentine kitten. And I've got pink. I've got light mauve. This is light mauve. That must be something else. This must be light mauve. This is probably light mauve. This is light blue. I bought that. I don't think this is a whole skein. This is from him. I think this was his feet. This was the one. This is like a teal. I bought thinking it was the color, and then I know this is not never been. This one's never been used. Again, I don't think this one's ever been used either. It's a mint, and then the yellow. I think this is what sent me down the Pemrose path. This is what sent me down the path. I saw this yellow, and I had to make peeps. So I'm probably not going to make this many peeps. Definitely a yellow one, most likely a green one, and most likely these three colors. Depends on how quickly they work up. I have a couple of patterns I haven't decided on yet which one I'm going to make, um, or which pattern I'm going to use to make them. I really prefer no sew. I have gotten into no sew patterns. I never really understood when I started amigurumi about. Actually, it's been 8 years. I've been doing amigurumi for about 8 years, off and on. I posted that yesterday on a short that I saw on Facebook. My little "Where the Wild Things Are" critter that I'd made 8 years ago. I can't believe it's been 8 years. I made him, and I made a dragon, and I've made a mouse. I made a bunch of stuff around that time, and then I kind of stopped, and then a couple years ago I picked it up again. So usually I do the sew project. This one here's a sew project, and so I've always done them that way. And then last year I did hooks and healers. I found her. It was Barry the Bat, and he was the first no sew or low sew item I had ever done. I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love no sew, and I think Craig was pretty much letting that as well. I love doing the legs like that, where you put the legs inside and then crochet them on. That's how the arms are for this. And then the head was just, you increase and then you decrease. I think the snout and the ears were the same way. So this was a low sew project too. And I've gotten so into them. I actually forgot how difficult a sew project is. So I'm not really looking forward to doing the Snoopy. Yeah, the Yeti was also a low sew a no sew because you did the feet, then you did the legs, then you did the body. Head is the same thing; it expands up and then decreases, and the arms attach. So yeah, this was a no sew. So I've really gotten into that, and I have forgotten how difficult it is to do that, to do the sewing. So I think the peep probably would be a low sew because you probably do one ear, then do the other ear and attach it, and then just do it in the round. I'm assuming. I haven't looked at the patterns. So that's my main goal, is to get at least one color. I'll probably start with purple. Start purple or the green one. And actually, I may start with this one since that's the yarn that kind of started the whole nonsense with that. So yeah, that's definitely a main project. And then I have about two or three others that I'm going to work on. Beast. Come on. So Roland has decided to join me. I don't know if you can see him or not. Just in time to say goodbye, and he's saying goodbye too. So thanks for watching. I hope you will consider subscribing so that you can keep up to date on all the projects that I'm working on and some of the exciting things I have up in my brain for future content. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Happy crocheting.